And hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? It's your man, it's your boy. It is Mad Morgan coming at you with another episode of Car Musings. How's everybody doing? How you doing today? You keep your integrity in check. Are you being the best person you can be? Remember, what you put out, you influence others. So keep that in mind. Do the good things. Do the good things. Even in these rough times, we have to keep our honor, our self-respect, our pride, our decency about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, you still have to come out at the other end when things turn around. And you know what? You still got to look at yourself in the mirror, knowing you did what you had to do. And hey, I do fully support acting like Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. I will endorse this. It's Mad Morgan's seal of approval. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. Nothing wrong with being a Robin Hood. Just don't steal from the rich and just keep it all yourself, because that's just being a batch. Being a batch. It's like a bastard and a bitch, but you're being a batch. I'm coining that word. TikTok, it's mine. Batch. So anyways, how's everybody doing? I want to start out with a few things. First and foremost, as always, check out the madmorgan.com. And we're gonna start expanding our menu. Like, I know you guys are trying. I know you guys are trying. I know you are. I know you're trying to get the word out. I know you're sharing. I know you're telling people about us, and I appreciate that. But I'm thinking, in 2026, more people have got to get the message, got to get the word. There's stuff that needs to be said. There's stuff that needs to get out there. There's stuff that people need to learn about, right? So the thing is that they're not going to learn about it if they don't hear about it. And sometimes it's taking a little longer. So, let's help it out. I think I'm going to probably make a little effort to give a little push out on the social networks a little more. I really didn't want to, because, it's not about anything else other than, for myself why I do these and also help out. But I think more people need help. I think a lot of people are not right in the head. I think they need a little more help. I think they need to hear from somebody that they're okay. There's nothing wrong with them, right? So, anyways, all that aside, keep spreading the good love. Keep spreading the word. Keep getting it out there. And as I said, if you have the means, help us out. We'd appreciate that, especially into a new year. Expenses, all that stuff. Thank you very much in ahead of time. What do I want to talk about today? Well, I think what I want to talk about today is make the most of your time and value those people in your life. So, I don't know, make the time for what matters. I think that's where I'm going to start it out with. Make the time for what matters. I think that's going to be today's title. So anyways, the thing is, recently a good friend of mine lost his mom. And I'm sorry. I don't care how good your relationship is with your parents. They're still your parents. They still were part and parcel, part of the equation which gave you life. Whether you like your life or you don't like your life, you should show a level of respect for these people who brought you into this world in one capacity or another. I don't know. But it's up to you whether or not you have a relationship with them. It's not for me to decide. But still. So, a good friend of mine lost his mom. It's been a struggle because, she had medical issues that she was dealing with. And it's been a long, long battle. And I can relate because one of my parents is going through similar conditions. And, it's difficult. You don't want to be without them, but at the same time, you kind of look at it as really fair what they're going through. And it's just one of those things where, you got to make the most of the time, but don't forget the good times. Make the most of the time when you can, because it's valuable, right? It is valuable. It is important. It is important to make the most of the time. and value it. Because you're going to look back at that time later on down the road and say to yourself, hey, did I make the most time? And yes, you did, because you cared, because you loved them, right? Because you did everything you could within your capacity to be there for them. As long as you did truly do that, not a facade, not, because it suited you, but because you value the people, the relationship, the love, good times and bad times, in any capacity, whether or not it's on a minor because they're like an acquaintance, or whether or not they're a work colleague, you don't have that emotional connection to them, whatever the case may be, make the most of that time. Make the most of it. And it's not quantity over, it's more quality over quantity. It doesn't have to be enormous amounts of time, but at least value the time in which you have with these people that matter to you and go from there. That's the way to do it. That's the way to actually, look at, okay, this person matters to me in this capacity. I'm going to make the most of my time with them. I'm going to remember the good times, and savor that. Loss is never good, whether unknowingly they're gone, by decision, by not decision. It's one of those, did, was it your choice? Was it your choice? Was it not your choice? Was it they left you because they fell out of favor with you or friendship with you? You know, Sometimes these decisions we have no say in, and if it's a loss because their time had come, which makes it even worse because you really don't have a decision on that. But you got to remember, what time you had, and value people, because people are important. People are important. To forget about them is kind of an insult, right? So you didn't like them, right? So you didn't see eye to eye. So you thought that they were quirky or odd. But everybody has value. To not remember somebody because of convenience, or it doesn't hit home with you, or whatever the case may be, that makes you a dick, in my opinion. It makes you a real jerk. Like, I remember this one guy that everybody used to work with, and everybody knew him. Not everybody seemed to mesh with him and everything else, but he took his own life because he was going through some struggles, and nobody listened to him except for a handful of people like myself. And you know, a lot of people were big dicks when that Skype broadcast went out to everybody. And the people that kept leaving that Skype broadcast, I was like, you guys are a bunch of pricks. I got your numbers. I got your names. I know who the fuck you are. I know what kind of person you are. You're heartless. You're soulless. You know what? This guy was going through struggles. I'd like to see you go through a fraction of the struggles that some people go through before you pass judgment on them. Not everybody airs their laundry. Not everybody puts everything out there to share it with the rest of the world. Some people kind of keep that private and close, and don't put it out there because they don't want the judgment or the biases, or they don't want this or that, but they want to just keep it as personal. I'm going to keep it to myself. But you don't know what struggles people are going through, the losses people are going through, the hurt that people are going through. So try your best to be good to everybody and kind to everybody, and listen. Listen and get to know what people are going through. If somebody is going through something and they try to keep everything under cover, well, as much as they make it seem like everything's perfect in their lives, chances are they're probably struggling the most. But did you ever take the time to listen? Get to know them? Or did you pass judgment because they don't fit into your niche? If you've had a falling out with somebody that used to matter to you at one point, why did they stop mattering to you? Did you not value any of the time you had with them? You know, do you think your justification and your reasons for not having them in your life anymore actually matter at this point, or are you just throwing a hissy fit at the time? You know, maybe it's a relationship you should re-savor, rekindle before it's too late. Because imagine not having the option. Imagine having somebody dear to you, you had a stupid argument or stupid misunderstanding or whatever over something so petty or stupid or misunderstood, and you're thinking, oh, they'll come around. They'll come around. Not my fault. You start blaming everybody else but yourself. And guess what? One day you decide to be the bigger person. Stand an olive branch, as they say. Bury the hatchet, put it behind you. And guess what? They're no longer around. Their time had come. They're gone. Don't, if people mattered to you at one point, don't do that. Try, put a little effort into settling that stupid indifference for whatever it was. Put it behind you. And at least tell them, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Because it takes a bigger person to say they're sorry. I fucked up. Is there anything here that's worth saving? Blah, 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 blah. And then try to move forward. And if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But at least you gave it an opportunity, because otherwise you're going to have a regrets of not taking that opportunity, because it'll be too late. And then what do you do? Right? You can't change that. Their time has come. They're done. End of story. Now what do? You're screwed. You know, and that comes on you. You could have changed it. You could have changed it indeed. But you didn't. Because of your pride, because of your stupidity, because you didn't want to take the blame, because of this, because of that. You know what? That's on you, bud. That's on you. So, if somebody matters to you, let them know. And if you cannot settle an indifference, then really look inside yourself and say to yourself, wow, am I really fighting this battle? Why am I fighting this battle? There's no point in me fighting this battle. Ask yourself, is it worth this battle? Probably is not worth this battle. But you're still making it a fuss like it is. You know? Doesn't make any sense, but you're still doing it. Just ask yourself, is there any point in it? You know what? You gotta ask yourself if it's worth it, dude. That's all I gotta say. Ask yourself if it's worth it. Because if it's not worth it, then settle it. But settle it so you don't have that regret down the road. You know? That's all I'm gonna say. Settle it so you don't have that regret down the road that you didn't do anything about it. Life is too short, sadly. It goes by really quick. It really does. It goes by really quick. And to not value the time that you have with somebody is pointless and foolish. You know? You know, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Don't wait till tomorrow what you could do today. You know? And value those people that were key points in your life. Whether or not you saw eye to eye, whether or not you agree with them, whether or not, you know, whether or not, still do that for yourself, to rest your mind and rest your soul and rest knowing that you did what you could, you made the time, value it, value their memory at least. Because the moment a person truly dies is the moment that they're truly forgotten. You know, and that's the thing. They truly die when they're truly forgotten. And you don't want to do that. Because as soon as you forget about them, that's it. That's the point that they die. So keep their memory going. But keep their memory going, like, within reason, in the sense that, you know, like my sister had a tendency to go overboard with an old boyfriend she used to have. Like every single year was an anniversary type thing. You know what? It's just like, that's pointless. Like, okay, I get it. You guys dated. Everything was good. Blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Why are you having a annual ceremony towards this? I can understand if it was a parent. I can understand if it was a grandparent. I can understand if it was a key figure. But I can't understand when you're kind of celebrating something that, you know, some guy you dated back in school, you know, this doesn't make sense. But, you know, keep it realistic, right? Don't expect everybody else to have some mourning situation because, you know, something that mattered to you. That's personal in the sense that that's between you and the way that you're dealing with the memory of somebody. You celebrate it with yourself, you know, honor the person's memory in yourself, do the memorial in yourself for yourself. I hope I explained that right. I don't want to minimize the fact that, you know, I'm not saying don't remember people, because I remember people that have come and gone from my life in one capacity or another. Nothing wrong with that. You know what? You should do that. You should memorize. You should remember people. Not memorize people, but remember people. It's important to keep their memory alive because they matter to you. So, but if there is people in your life that mattered to you and made an effort to be part of your life at one point and you had a falling out, you know, don't wait for them to change their mind or them to change their opinion or them to come around. Make the effort now while you still can, while there is still an option to. You know, that's what you got to do. You make the effort now. Don't wait until there's no chance tomorrow. Get on that phone, get on that text message, DM them, do whatever. I'm just saying. I wish I could go back and do things differently. I was at a pivotal time in my life, still trying to figure myself out when I lost my grandparents on both occasions. It was a difficult time, right? No excuse. If I could go back now and change it, I would. I hope you don't have to go through that, and I hope you listen to my words. Reach out to your grandparents. Reach out to your great-grandparents if you're fortunate enough to have them. Reach out to people you haven't talked to in a while that you always made excuses for. Reach out to these people and say, hey, how's it going? Haven't talked in a while. Tell me about what's going on with you. You probably make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. If I could go back, I would do it differently. I would see my great-grandparents every chance I got. And my grandparents. And other people. But, you know, it's hard to predict the future. It's hard to figure out where it's going to be. But you got to do what you got to do. I understand that. But do make the time to try to do what matters with these particular people and bury the hatchet and make amends and make some effort, all that stuff. Because like in any relationship, it takes effort. It's not always going to be two-sided, although it should. But I'm not talking about friendships here and, you know, both sides making an effort. I'm just talking about you not losing the opportunity to spend some quality time with those that matter to you at one point or another and putting any differences you had aside and just making the most of any time you have with certain people. That's important. That is important, you know, and you should savor that time. You should savor that time. So don't deny yourself that. Anyways, I don't want to sound like a broken record. My heart goes out to my friend and his family. I know we talked today briefly through messages. I feel for you, brother. I do. I know it was a long road and a long struggle, and my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family at your time of loss. It's not easy, and I'll have that, fortunately, one day myself, that experience. So, you know, I can relate to a degree, but not in full capacity that you do right now. But just so you know, I'm here for you, thinking about you. And as I said, you know, I know you'll probably get this message a little later, but, you know, You always got a friend in me, brother. I'm here for you. So, anyways, for everybody else, I hope you got some words of wisdom out of all this, and you're picking up that phone after you listen to this podcast, and you're reaching out to those people, and you're making amends, and you're settling things. I hope you're doing it for yourself, or maybe a little bit for them as well. And you know what? Maybe better days ahead if you could do that. So I'm hoping you're doing so, because you'll thank yourself later for not being so closed-minded and arrogant, carrying on this silly little feud if you're having a feud. But at the same time, you'll look back at it one day and go, you know what? I made the time. It's excellent. And you'll feel better for it. I think you would. I think you would. But that's just my opinion. Do with it as you will. And as far as those other people in between, I know we've discussed it before. Don't waste your time on toxic people. Really don't. I'm looking to clean house with toxic people that I've had in the past and, in the future. And I'm powering up again. So, you know what? You find your power and power up again as well. Because that way, moving forward, you could be better for it. You know what? You can be better for it. You can be stronger for it. And, that's another show for another topic. Another topic for another show. All right, my friends. I'm going to call it at this point. You have yourself an amazing rest of your day, wherever you are. An amazing, I don't know, rest of the day I hope is good. Rest of your week is good. And I will see you next episode. I'm your host, Mad Morgan. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Car Musings. I think I'm just going to babble at this point, so I'm going to call it. You have yourself a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. All right, I'm out. Check out themadmorgan.com. All right, bye for now.